We come to chair yoga so that we can do yoga and so that we don't have to get onto the floor, onto the mat. So we do all these yoga moves in a chair. I'm doing yoga moves in 2 chairs today, and we'll be standing using the chairs as well as seated, and we'll be focused on the knee joint today. The knee is a hinge joint. You go straight and you bend the knee in yoga. There are no lateral moves, there's no rotation. The movement is from the hip, but the knee always stays aligned. In these poses, we'll be working on strengthening the muscles that support the knee. Grab 2 chairs, the same height, and we'll begin seated. In your chair, slide back to the very back of the chair, bend your right knee and place your right foot on the chair. Lift your right toes and spread your right toes and bring your ribs as close to the right thigh as possible. So you're hugging the right knee in. Release your right foot down to the floor. Lift your left leg up. See if you can get the heel to press firmly, the left toes to lift up, the left toes to spread. In yoga, the feet, the toes are always active except for the final pose, which is a resting pose. But otherwise, you're really activating your toes. So if you can take off your shoes and socks, please do, so that you can really work the feet better. Release your left foot. Now use your second chair to go a little bit deeper in that knee flexion action. Use the second chair right in front of you so that you can take your left foot on the chair and draw yourself forward so that the ribs are really close to the top of the left thigh. Take your left foot back so the left heel is pretty close to the pelvis, if possible, and draw your left heel down. So we're getting quite a stretch to the back side of the leg. I'm holding onto the back of the chair so I can get as close as possible to the back of the chair and give myself a little bit of a stretch of this very ropey, like back of the ankle, this Achilles tendon that tends to get really tight. So I'm really leaning into it here. We release that down. Let's come to the opposite side. Take your right foot on the chair in front of you. Scoot it back as close to your pelvis as possible. Lean forward so you start to feel a little stretch in the back of the ankle. Maybe you can even scoot the right heel back a little bit more. Keep pressing the heel down as you draw forward. You'll start to feel not only the stretch in the back of the ankle, but possibly other areas in the inner groin. Release out of that pose. Come to standing. In the standing position, just come to the chair back. Place your hands to the chair seat in front and bow in. Kind of like downward facing dog, but you're using the chairs for support. Your hands can be at the back of the chair if you wish. Take the hands as wide apart as possible. Lift your elbows up. Relax your head. And now feel the back sides of the legs. See if we can get just a little bit more action out of our legs. Bend your knees. With your knees bent, lift your heels, lift your sits bones. So you've got really a nice elevation there. Now bring your heels down. With the head released, you have a nice in-breath and out-breath through the nose. Now inhale and lift yourself up. We'll do a runner's lunge using 2 chairs. In the runner's lunge, one leg is straight, so take your right foot to the chair in front of you. Lift your right toes up and spread your right toes. Now feel the engagement, especially the hamstrings, the muscles in the back of the thigh. Can you also get the muscles in the front of the thigh very active before we do a nice stretch? So as you drill into the right heel, maybe you can slide the right heel forward. I'm holding onto the chair seat as I draw forward as I move the heel toward the back of the chair. Notice I still have a bend in my knees. That is so that I can keep this engagement of the thigh muscles to protect my knee. Both in the straight leg and the bent knee postures, we want to make sure that we keep the full length of the leg from the toes all the way to the pelvis. We want to keep those muscles quite active. Now come out of the pose. Step your right foot off the chair. Take your left foot on the chair. With the left heel pressing down. Imagine in the middle of the heel, it's like a drill, a bore. You're just pressing down as firmly as you can and lifting your toes back toward your shin bone. You can take your hands to the chair, and as you do, just slide your left foot forward and try to keep the spine elongated. In other words, no rounding like this. Keep the spine nice and long as you draw your heart forward, as you keep the knee bent, as you press the heel down, and you come toward a straight leg. But for most of us, if we come all the way straight, we lose that engagement. So you're not doing the knee any favor when you do that. So keep that engagement and inhale, rise up to come out of the pose. Step your left foot down. In other cultures, squats are done almost as part of daily activities. In our culture, not so much. Squats are done in yoga classes. But squats are a really good thing for us to practice, especially as we start to lose mobility in our major joints like the hip joint and the knee joint. To strengthen the muscles around the knee, step your feet nice and wide apart. We'll do a modified squat. And in this squat, take your toes out. Now your knees are still aligned properly. You've got a perfect alignment, the knee relative to your foot. It's your hip that's doing the rotation, right? So we're not going feet hip distance apart. We're going fairly wide with the toes drawing out. Now, as you do, just draw forward. So now you start to put a little bit more weight on your feet. And inhale and rise up. We'll do that a few more cycles. With your feet a little wider than the chair legs are, toes turned out, knees directed in the same direction. Bow forward. Bear a little bit more weight on your toes and rise up. So in this action, the knees are right over the ankles. When you engage your muscles to protect the knee, if you take your feet a little bit closer to the chair seat so that now the knees are forward of the ankle, you can still protect the knee when you engage. So as you draw forward, notice how the legs become very alive. You can even lift your pelvis up off the chair seat and take it down. Now let's use our arms to help us out in this action. So reach your arms up and draw them forward. Draw your heart forward. Lift your pelvis up off the chair seat. Take your pelvis down. Come back and draw again. bow forward, maybe even deeper, lift up and come down, rise up. Can you take your feet maybe even closer to the chair legs? So now it's quite an angle there, but you're able to get that same stretch we were working before, stretch on the back side of the leg. Press your heels down, take your arms up and draw forward and lift up and come down. Keep a strong action in the legs. Release your hands. Let's combine the action that we did, those chair squats that we did, with a half sun salute. So step your feet wider apart, turn your toes out, have your knees track that. If you can take your heels back so that the knees slightly forward of the ankle, do that. Take your hands in a prayer position, bow forward, reach your arms up, lift up, exhale, take your hands down into a squat, release your hands down to the floor, and rise up. Again, inhale, lift your arms up, exhale, place the hands in front of your heart, and down to the floor, and take your hands back, seated on a chair. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, take your hands in front of your heart, and now down to the floor. Take your hands in front of your heart. One last time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, come down to the floor. Take your hands in front of your heart. Well done. That works the muscles that support the knees so well. We'll come to standing now with the right foot forward, with the left foot back. Start in a straight leg. Bend your back leg with the left heel lifted and straighten the left leg. That area of the calf muscle that we were stretching and the Achilles tendon, you start to feel it. So lift up the back heel, keep your front leg straight, and reach the left heel back. I'm holding onto the chair, but I'm trying to keep from rounding. I'm trying to keep the spine long. Bend your back knee. You draw down toward the chair back. Straighten the back leg. Bend your back knee. Bow in. Straighten the back leg. Rise up. Take your left foot forward. Take your right foot back. Start with the back heel pressing down. Bend your back knee. You lift up the heel. You draw down toward the straight front leg. And you rise up and straighten the back leg. Again, bend the knee. Draw down. Now that you've got the hang of this, maybe you can lift your right heel a little bit higher and really root it down. Draw down, maybe a little bit deeper, and come up, and draw down, rise up, and bend the back knee, and rise up, step wide. And in a wide stance, if your right knee goes forward of your ankle, we don't want that. So go wider and it will be easier. Take your right hand either down to the knee or the chair seat. Reach your left arm up and over your head. Keep a nice fullness in your pose. Keep your back leg strong. Inhale, rise up to come out of the pose. Keep your right leg straight. Lift your arms up. Draw down to the chair again. Left arm lifts up. Left arm reaches over your head. And inhale, rise up, come out of the pose. Take your chair on the opposite side or turn yourself around. Wide stance. And check out if it's wide enough so that if you bend your knee, again, you have that nice alignment right over the ankle. Take your left hand to the chair. Take your right arm up and over. And enjoy a nice fullness to the stretch. Nice length to the side body. Rise up, straighten your front leg. Pull in, get strength in the legs. Reach your arms up and come to triangle pose. Rise up to come out of the pose. Release your hands. Grab your second chair if you put it to the side. Sit forward on your chair seat. Take your right foot on the chair seat in front of you. And as you do, bring your chair forward so that the shin is now parallel, so that you've got this full support for the leg. With that full support, hold on with the hands to the back of the chair and step your left leg back. So you've got this nice way to open the pelvis to protect the knee in this bent leg pigeon pose, this variation of pigeon pose it's called. Maybe you can draw yourself forward toward the chair in front of you. Keep your right foot active. You're really pressing down through the baby toe side of the foot. Lift yourself up to come out of the pose and take your left shin on the chair in front of you. Scoot yourself into position so that you feel very supported with the left leg. Take your hands to the chair seat. Keep your right foot active. Keep your left foot active. Maybe you can bow forward. And rise up to come out of the pose. Take your right foot back to the chair in front of you. With the right foot in that same position, with the outside of the foot very active, the shin bone completely supported. If you're having any knee discomfort, come out of the pose. If you're fine with this, with two hands, lift the foot up and place the foot right in the pant leg crease and support the leg on the chair in front of you. Do the same with the left side. Take the left shin bone on the chair seat and check in. How does this feel? If it feels like this is plenty for the knee, then don't go farther. So the foot is pretty much the height of your leg. So for some of us, taking the foot to the top of the thigh works fine. For others of us, we should probably avoid it. If that doesn't work for you, just keep the foot on the chair seat. You can release out of the pose as you're ready. Thank you so much for practicing with me to get a little bit more strength in our knees. Namaste.